Welcome to Private Capital Insiders, the inaugural episode of Private Capital Global's new podcast series. I'm Frank Scarpelli, President and CEO of Private Capital Global, and today we're diving into the dynamic intersection of artificial intelligence and human capital strategy, topics that drive transformation across private capital firms and their portfolio companies. Our guest today is Tina Shah Paikeday, a trailblazer in AI innovation, talent strategy, and diversity leadership. Tina currently serves as General Manager of the Innovation Accelerator at Findem, a fast-growing venture-backed SaaS company pioneering AI-driven talent acquisition. With a reputation as a thought leader, speaker, and published expert, Tina brings exceptional insight into how AI can be used ethically to foster innovation and mitigate bias in decision-making. Her experience spans a partnership at Russell Reynolds Associates, where she built and led the firm's global diversity practice, as well as founding talent advisory firms, scaling tech startups, and contributing to Fortune 500 strategies at McKinsey and Procter & Gamble. She holds an MBA from Stanford, a BS from UVA, and her pursuit of a PhD in executive management underscores her drive for lifelong learning. Today, we'll explore how human capital is evolved as a strategic lever for value creation and private capital, the overlooked opportunities in building world-class leadership teams, and how AI-driven talent intelligence is transforming the approach on talent strategy for PE and VC firms. If you're interested in forward-thinking leadership, data-driven talent acquisition, or maximizing value realization through strategic human capital decisions, you'll want to hear Tina's unique perspectives and future-forward mindset. Let's jump in and learn from Tina's journey, a blend of strategic vision, operational excellence, and passion for transforming how organizations find and develop talent.
Thank you, Frank. It's great to be here. And if we think about the name of the company, it's how do we find the best talent in the world? So we're Findem.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit of the history of the company and how you came to join the organization, how long it's been around, et cetera?
Absolutely. Happy to do that. The company was founded about 6 years ago by Hari Kollam and Raghu Venkat, two co-founders who realized that people are more than just their resumes, that a great hire doesn't come from a keyword search. It really starts from a very deep understanding of the career journey and the unique skills that people bring into their next opportunity. So to be able to answer questions like, did they help a startup grow or have they seen a company go public? These are not things that jump off of a resume for most folks who've put one together. And typically, right, folks in talent acquisition spend hours piecing together this career journey from looking at various different points of data all over the place. And they knew that they could solve this problem, which they categorized as a data problem. And really being able to focus on what matters the most is this 3D data and being able to parse it in a way that translated into skills. And that's exactly what they did. I joined the company because I met Hari and I was leading the global diversity, equity, and inclusion practice at one of the world's leading executive search firms. Most of the questions I got asked about how do you use AI and tools like Findem were about, are they inclusive and are they equitable given the role that I was playing? And so I actually decided to have a very deep look at AI in the use of talent, AI used in talent platforms by taking an executive education course at UC Berkeley. And we hosted a forum with Findem where we asked that question, right? Most folks in the industry, especially what's going on lately, would assume that AI brings bias to talent decisions. We wanted to flip that notion on its head and test the question of whether AI could help de-bias talent decisions. And that's how I came to the company, because we conducted an experiment that landed up with some pretty interesting results.
Oh, very good. Especially true for the private equity, private capital sector in general, right? Being able to perform a much deeper level of assessment, trying to find the right person that's going to fit that environment. I'm sure that this is a huge value add you can bring to a sector like that.
Absolutely. And I think, worked with a lot of private equity firms over my time, and really finding that perfect fit for the context really matters. I think that so much has changed in private equity over time. Last decade, I think firms are really focused on the efficiency metrics and really focusing on operations and becoming more efficient. And I think this last decade, the 2020s, have been all about, how do you find the best talent to solve really difficult problems and differentiate in that way? And that's where, we see a high intense focus on assessments to really be able to match the right people with the right roles. And so I think this kind of application is very well suited towards both private equity and private capital in general, including venture.
Do you find that you enter at the pre-deal due diligence phase, or what's the ideal point of entry?
I think we actually can assist in all of the phases. If I break it down into three, whether it's diligence, post-close, or pre-exit. At the diligence phase, I think we're really providing talent intelligence to be able to evaluate the leadership gaps and succession risk that a team would have in terms of scalability and informing the valuation models for post-close plans. I would say post-close, operators can proactively build, right, the leadership pipelines that align with the, call it 1 year to 2 year growth initiatives using a platform like Findem rather than scrambling once the roles become urgent. And, I've seen many of those in the work that I've done. And then pre-exit, and I think this is where there's a ton of value add, right? We help firms assess whether the current executive team is optimized for a strategic buyer or an IPO situation, and whether gaps need to be filled to maximize that exit value. And that's partly because, again, as I mentioned, we're kind of business intelligence first. We have hundreds of millions of profiles that we have collected what we call 3D data on. So from 100,000 different sources, and we can really understand the career journey and history of all of those people in the pipeline, be able to forecast very effectively.
Very interesting. So from your perspective, how do you see the role of human capital evolving in terms of it being a strategic lever in the value creation process? Private capital, it's changed over the last 5 to 10 years markedly. So where do you see us now, and where do you see us heading next?
Yeah, I think that today there's a clear recognition that leadership quality and organizational agility, as well as culture, are super critical to scaling businesses and driving returns. I think the shift has been due to several factors. One being obviously digital transformation, which we're sitting at the nexus of here in Silicon Valley. Two, the war for top leadership talent, and then this forever increasingly complex go-to-market strategy that requires specialized skill sets. And I think probably now funds are feeling greater pressure from LPs to be more resilient and diverse and future ready in the portfolio companies. And so I think human capital is going to play probably an even more critical role moving forward. And I think with AI automation and remote first models becoming more prevalent, firms that can predict and develop future ready leadership teams, rather than focusing on the kind of reactive hiring, are going to have a competitive advantage going forward.
How much do you feel the extended, protracted holding patterns that we're seeing affect the buy-in from senior management and working on issues like culture and other human capital related issues?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that given that change, right, and the importance of the culture that needs to be set, I think the selection around those pieces are critically important. And I think being able to use data to be able to triangulate on the match there is super important, while also being able to build an inclusive culture that can bring the innovation that's required from diverse perspectives. So I'd say that being able to get both right, critically important at this period of time.
Absolutely. And what about opportunities you feel that have been overlooked in terms of building these teams and world-class teams and these portfolio companies?
I would say a couple of things. One is just succession bench building. I think that there's been a lot of focus placed on immediate executive hiring post-close, and probably not enough attention in terms of identifying, developing, and retaining future-ready leaders within the organization. And I think that creates a blind spot in terms of resilience and scaling. I would say the second thing is that many firms still rely on their gut feeling or anecdotal benchmark when it comes to designing org structures. And at the same time, analyzing performance, whether it's talent density and span of control through a structured lens, can yield much more significant sort of execution acceleration and reduce some of the churn. And that data-driven org design, I think, is another big opportunity area.
And that's really going to resonate with the private equity types, right? I mean, they're all looking at ROI at the end of the day. So data is the way to go. Sounds like you serve up a lot of data. So got to think that that's a huge plus.
Yeah, I think in our experience, our the private equity firms and venture capital firms that we work with, along with our portfolio companies, are incredibly driven, right, by this return on investment. And I think at the core of being able to do that is to be able to measure the inputs and the outputs. And what we've been able to do here at Findem is really reduce the time to hire while increasing the quality of the hire at the same time. And we think that our private capital clients really appreciate both of those returns on investment.
Yeah, that's a great segue to have you perhaps explain to us how Findem's really approaching AI and applying it. Can you walk us through a little bit about the approach?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I would say that Findem fundamentally brings a different approach to talent intelligence by fusing AI with what we call attribute-based search. And what these attributes do is they allow PE and VC firms to define the exact leadership traits that they're looking for, but correlating them with outcomes. So again, an outcomes focused. And so we can find candidates, for example, who have scaled a business from 10 million to 100 million, who've built an engineering organization in emerging markets, or who have led the company through an IPO. And that's what we call ID data. We are able to marry what we call people data on a resume with company data and the time that that person was there at the company. So we actually know what are the outcomes that they were responsible for leading as part of the executive team, for example. So when these attributes are mapped across a global talent pool, what we're able to do is not just surface candidates who are active in the market, but actually able to surface executives who are both high impact and also mission aligned. And what that means for talent partners, I think, is that they're able to get faster access to transformational leaders who are often in hidden networks that may not be in their usual suspect list. They can also get this measurable uplift in quality of hire and time to hire that I was talking about before. And then in addition to that, I think talent market intelligence that informs their go-to-market strategies and regional expansion as well.
That's really interesting. How does that work when you're dealing with an existing leadership team? Are you doing an in-depth intake on what exists? Because when you're brought in and the platform is being utilized, you're looking at how you're moving forward. What about incorporating the current leadership bench?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's even from the outside looking in, we can have a point of view in terms of the talent bench strength for a company where it sits today. And I think it's very powerful to be able to combine that skills assessment with, even things ranging from, forecasts and earnings calls and investor calls, where this strategy is headed, to be able to say, this is the talent we need tomorrow. Here's the talent we have today. And to be able to understand where the gap is and therefore where the changes need to be made, both organizationally and the talent teams that are in existence today.
So does the platform itself serve this up through the dashboard, or is there an element of consulting that's involved? Is there a hands-on approach that works in conjunction with the platform?
So I would say that it's human in the loop, right? So humans are making the decisions at the end of the day using the data. And so I think AI and the power of AI is used to both collect and query the data. And a human is there to provide the judgments that's necessary in the experience of having hired the right people and seen them through to the other side so that they're making decisions. Humans are making decisions about what attributes are most important. So we're not having AI make any of those decisions. It's really a guided approach.
So I'm imagining you are working very closely with the human capital operating partners. What other roles on the fund side and on the portfolio side do you see yourself interacting with? And I'm sure it could be different for different circumstances.
Yeah, no, I would say that I'm definitely working with sort of everyone in the human capital arena, from those managing resources available to the portfolio companies, right? Because as we think about the leaner teams that they need to operate with, the sort of pressure that they're under, this platform is a great way to be able to leverage the smaller teams that they have, but to be able to operate at the same scale as some of the larger funds. In addition to that, the teams that are working on executive search, we have an executive search sort of vertical, which tailors specifically to that need. And then we're often working with human capital operating partners who are kind of, providing advice at the senior most levels as well.
Very good. And looking ahead down the road, what does your vision tell us about how AI is going to redefine this collaboration?
Yeah.
between tech partners and Findem and the talent leaders, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we think about an AI first era, so much is going to change, right? Even how the organization is structured. I like to talk about how, now we're even seeing executive roles where the head of IT is merged with the head of HR, right? So as we think about talking with talent leaders, the questions that they have about what's going to remain in-house, what might be contracted, what might go to AI, it's in addition to that, how is the org going to get redesigned based on where AI has its best use cases? So I think there's going to be a lot that changes, and I think the firms that keep up with the efficiency and effectiveness benefits of AI while managing the risk that's presented will be the ones that win first.
And then coming from a very large global retained executive search firm like I know you do, would you say that you're going to see in the middle market a trend for companies to try to handle the searches themselves internally, work in conjunction, a combination of both? Or, we've always talked about that. We live in the age of disintermediation, right? And we all want to save costs.
Yeah, I think it was a very interesting discussion about this with a number of search firm leaders. And I think we all know that the industry is going to change dramatically. I think something similar happened when, there was essentially the in-house department started kind of taking on the searches that were more mid-level. I think that, the search firms will continue to work on those projects which are highly confidential and need to be handled with great care and/or, right, the very sort of esoteric and hard to find roles that, external partners are often hired for. I think we'll continue to see greater consolidation on the in-house side as we move forward with continued digital transformation and AI transformation.
Sure. So what words of wisdom do you have for those human capital operating partners and all of the folks that are involved in leadership decisions that are critical to not only the private equity organization, but also the individual portfolio companies? Any good takeaways that you can share?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that I would really think about the fact that talent decisions are, instead of going to be static, they're going to be made with real-time data. And so I think adopting and embracing this data first approach, AI first approach right now, will position leaders to be kind of most competitive in the markets in which they're operating. I think that succession planning is the biggest opportunity, because I think that right now, focusing on the deal close is probably where most firms are, being able to think more strategically across the entire portfolio and the exits to be able to really forecast that and plan the talent, move the talent across the portfolio, I think are the things that talent leaders in this space are going to do to be most effective in the journeys that they have with their portfolios.
If somebody wanted to get a hold of you at Findem, how would they do that?
You can just reach me at tina.shah@findem.ai, and I'm happy to connect.
Awesome. Well, this has been really enlightening. I'm really pretty excited hearing about this platform. I'm eager to learn more about what it does, maybe see it in action.
Great. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be with you, Frank, and look forward to connecting some more.
That was Tina Shah Paikeday, General Manager of the Innovation Accelerator at Findem, sharing her insights on the intersection of AI and inclusive leadership. Tina's unique perspective, combining deep AI experience with strategic human capital experience, offers a roadmap for private capital firms looking to maximize value creation through data-driven talent strategies and world-class leadership development. You can connect with Tina on LinkedIn, where she regularly shares insights on AI, leadership, and the future of work. If today's conversation has sparked ideas for your own organization, I'd love to hear from you. And if you found value in this episode, please share it with someone who could benefit from Tina's insights. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you the next time